What is up, beautiful Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome back to the Dynasty Dynamic. I'm your host, Max Cascons, joined by the man who might have to start Rashad Penny this week, a.k.a. the Run DMC, a.k.a. Mr. Dan McAuliffe. Dan, how you doing, buddy?
Max, you just said I might have to start Rashad Penny in a league this week. How do you think I'm doing? It's rough out there, man. It's rough out there.
I mean, if we're talking 2017, 2018 roster, I mean, you felt
That's
good.
true.
If
I'd
you
be
were
feeling
rolling
really
Rashad
good.
Penny out there.
Hey, you know what? I'm feeling maybe there's a little miracle in the air this week. Maybe a little something we're going to finally get to see, that prime Rashad Penny that you talk about, those highlights over and over again. Maybe we get to see a little bit of that. You know what? So I'm optimistic. If you're asking how I'm doing, I'm feeling a little optimistic if I'm going to have to start Rashad Penny in a league this week.
I mean, longtime listeners will know one of my favorite players. Such a shame he could never be healthy. I would love nothing more than to see a Rashad Penny blow-up game this week.
Absolutely. So, hey, fingers crossed, man. I'm going to need it.
So, hopefully a quick show tonight, Dan.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted to do something a little different, and I wanted to maybe get on the hot seat for the first time.
Oh, baby.
So,
It's
we
fun.
both cooked up some rapid. Well, we'll see if it's fun. You do a good job at it. I don't know if I do yet or not. We both cooked up some questions, so let's try to keep it short. And with that, I will quickly say, tweet of the week comes from one of the greatest red zone threats of the last decade, Mr. Des Bryant himself. We will post it in the show notes, put it up on Twitter. So I guess this is where I find out what it's like to live as Dan McAuliffe.
It is, exactly. Get ready, baby. I'm setting this chair on fire.
I don't know any of these questions, so let's keep it short. Without further ado, let me have it, baby. What's the first question?
All right. First question we got here, Maxwell. Is Allen Robinson still a top 20 wide receiver in Dynasty? Let me know your thoughts.
Okay. All right. Love Allen Robinson. Man, rapid fire's tough. You got to be so fast.
I know.
So I'm going to frame this up a little bit as, is he like a back end wide receiver 2 in Dynasty? And I think the answer to that is yes. 20 is probably about where Allen Robinson feels like he should be ranked at this point. I will ask myself a little sub question. Do I feel great about having Allen Robinson on my Dynasty team right now? Right?
Yep.
Age 28, looking like the start of a lost season with a rookie quarterback and an offense that can't figure it out. I feel like that ranking is appropriate. That feels about off the top of my head where he should be. Do I feel great about slotting him in as a wide receiver 2? Probably not. And if I have the opportunity to pivot to somebody else in that range, maybe buy it back a couple of years, I think that's what I'm doing.
All right. There we go. Had to tee it up with something to one singular player to see how you're feeling about him. I like it. Let's move on to the next one. Again, rapid fire for a reason, so we'll keep it moving. This is going to be the battle of the Bama QBs. We've talked about Jalen Hurts a decent amount, actually, and so I'm actually going to save the listeners the trouble. I know how you feel about Jalen Hurts, and we can certainly revisit it another time. We're going to talk about the other two. We're going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones. Who would you rather have going forward in a Dynasty league?
Man, that's a great question.
I didn't come here with bad questions, Max.
You did not come with bad questions. I'm going to have to zero out some of this when I edit it later so people will think I answered these quicker. That's a great question. I think right now I'm probably leaning Mac Jones. And I'm not sure there's a lot of rankings that would agree with that right now, but
yep.
With
if you look, Fantasy Pros actually has Mac Jones at QB 20, Tua at QB 17, just so you know.
Okay. All right. So they're close.
Yeah.
I just think we've seen enough from Mac that he was pretty much as advertised from the Bama days, right? So great decision maker. You know, he's not a runner. He's never going to give you that elite fantasy upside that like a Jalen Hurts could, or a Josh Allen, or a Patrick Mahomes, or any of these guys with more mobility. But I feel like the Patriots receiving core can only get better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So keep
throwing
investing,
a bunch of randos out there right now.
Giving him better. And Mike and I both professed our love for Jacoby Myers on the last
and I love
show.
it.
So
I'm in on him too, but
get the man some more weapons. Tua and he's not even been in the league that long, right? So we are
Exactly.
very short amount of time into the Tua experiment, but injury problems, hasn't looked great in his starts, which I would argue he probably still has a better surrounding cast than Mac Jones does right now. I think it's very close, but I'm probably looking at this as like your second QB in Superflex. Who do you want to bank on? And right now it seems like Mac probably has a little bit more stability.
Honestly, I think I'm with you. It's just so wild because there wasn't a tank for Mac, right? I mean, would have been a better slogan to at least have something that rhymed or whatever. But to have just been mentally drilled that Tua, you're going to tank for Tua, he's going to be the savior of your franchise, and now to be looking back at it being like, man, I actually might prefer Mac Jones. It's just an interesting kind of perspective there. And honestly, I don't think I disagree. All right. We're going to go into another one now. We're going to look to 2022. And we're going to talk about two different running backs here that I think you have varying opinions on, but I'm curious now. Who would you rather have going into 2022? Cam Akers coming off an Achilles injury, or James Robinson, the undrafted phenom, who is in 2022 was the RB7 and currently is the RB7 in 2021 in half PPR.
You did a great job with this one for a couple reasons. First of all, I'm bad at rapid fire, really just not leading with the answers on this one. So first of all, there's Akers coming back from injury, right? So there's that factor right there. That is a huge question mark. Although anybody who saw Marlon Mack in some limited snaps has to be encouraged by that.
Absolutely.
Also, OJ
Howard.
Disagree.
Absolutely. We have two case studies right there that are looking pretty good.
Modern medicine, baby. So we also have an unknown player coming back from injury in Travis Etienne.
Correct.
But Travis Etienne was a first-round pick.
He was.
I think it's very close. I am going to lean upside, pedigree, and positive vibes, Dan, and say give me Cam Akers.
Cam Akers.
Because I think 80-90% of Cam Akers, especially in a much better offense and on a better team than James Robinson is nothing to joke about.
Yeah.
So that paired with the fact that I really, obviously, Travis Etienne was a big guy for me. We talked about him a lot during the offseason. I think a healthy Etienne eats into James Robinson's workload. I know it's a lot of question marks, but give me Cam Akers.
That's fair. And honestly, this was hard for myself too, but I knew, especially with you being an Akers truther and also an ETN truther in that regard, and always, I mean, we've had conversations about the undrafted free agent that is James Robinson now, but it is becoming extremely hard for me to say no to the guy who's done now, proven 2 years, again, with maybe some competition that it did ended up being injured there, compared to Cam Akers, who we really haven't seen much of in the NFL. And you have Darrell Henderson, who's doing great, right? So hard question to answer. I honestly might go James Robinson personally myself here, but again, I was curious to hear where you're going to fall there.
Yeah, and it's it all comes down to risk aversion, right? We talk about that all the time. It'll be fun. That'll be a fun one to look back on.
There we go. All right, let's keep this rapid fire as intended to be. We're going to move on to the next one. If you were forced to pick one of these players in a startup first, who are you choosing? Jamar Chase or DJ Moore?
As much as I love DJ Moore, I feel like I have seen enough from Jamar Chase to get it over with.
Yep.
Both extremely impressive profiles.
Yeah.
I think Jamar Chase is a little bit more impressive, giving the teammates he shared the field with, was still able to outproduce Justin Jefferson in that light the world on fire offense. For me, especially buying back another couple years, it's a risky game with these guys when you haven't seen them play a full season yet. But I think Jamar Chase looks as advertised, and I would be comfortable, as much as it pains me, and hopefully getting him the round later.
Yeah.
Pushing the button on Jamar Chase over DJ Moore.
There we go. And honestly, it seems like fantasy pros and others in the industry would agree, but it's close. Wide receiver 8 for Jamar Chase, wide receiver 10 for DJ Moore. So they're both great players. I just had to kind of push your DJ Moore trutherism a little bit just to understand where you kind of stood on him, because I think I'm doing the same. Jamar Chase, more limited sample size, but the age, the talent from college, etc. I think I'm pushing the button on Jamar Chase over DJ Moore as well.
Yeah, and I think those years play a huge factor, right? Because running back, the years. So for the years at wide receiver, they matter less. But like getting those 3 extra years on Jamar Chase, I think it's big. Let alone he had the talent profile, and he's shown it so far.
100%. All right, and that actually maybe leads in well to this last one of the rapid fire series for Max. Is the seat hot enough for you right now? Too hot?
It's hot, but we're also running long. I'm not doing as good a job as I want.
All right, hey, well here we go. Let's rattle this last one off. We were speaking of age, and I agree, age is very important when it comes to Dynasty, especially when it comes to the running back position. One guy in particular I want to bring up is one Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, will he be considered an overall top 10 running back for Dynasty next year? Just to see the one little point, he is still currently 21 years old as compared to Najee Harris, who is 23, and of course others ranked above him. Every single running back that is ranked above him is older with Fantasy Pros currently, who is at RB 15.
I didn't look at any of the rankings you used for this. Off the top of my head, I would guess they have Javonte somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
Correct.
And
15.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right.
Yep.
I would have guessed a little higher. Bad job by you, Fantasy Pros. I think by next year, he will probably be knocking on that number 10 spot. So I'm cheating a little here. 10 feels about right. It feels like one of those players, kind of like a Miles Sanders a couple of years ago, where the first half of the season, very lightly used, and then you really got to let this guy loose and see what he can do. With the age, him being an early declare, I think it makes sense. I think top 10, especially right around that 10 mark, feels about right to me.
I wanted to hear that he definitely will be a top 10, but I will let it slide with very close to top 10. We will see how the rest of the season goes. Boy's 21. So excited to see what he continues to do in the latter part of this season and going into next season. So, all right, I'm letting you off the hot seat and I'm hopping in. Those were my 5 questions. You did a great job. I think there's some good cerebral discussion there.
Good job. Clearly, we are running longer than I thought, so we'll see how much time you can make up. Don't sacrifice any content, but I clearly no experience on the hot seat in terms of keeping it rapid. Okay,
sure, you got it.
So we got 2 players I'm going to give you here, and they happen to play for the same team. You can only pick one Denver wide receiver to have on your Dynasty team moving forward. Is it Courtland Sutton at age 26, or is it Jerry Jeudy at age 22?
Oh, man. Yeah, this is super interesting because I literally feel like I have come around on my feelings of this probably within this past couple weeks. I love Courtland Sutton. He has been great. I have been advocating for him as being like the wide receiver 1 of this team. But from what I had seen with camp, with Jeudy, etc., I started to get really excited. I started to delve a little deeper. And the biggest thing here for me is age. And I honestly don't believe in the current QB situation of the Broncos. And I really do feel like they are going to be making a big splash in the QB kind of draft or trade market pretty darn soon, and give me Jerry Jeudy with having multiple years of a QB upgrade and actually being able to truly unlock his talents, instead of Courtland Sutton, who's maybe going to be reaping the rewards of that at age 27 or 28. They're so close for me, but at that point, if I'm going to be taking someone, I want someone with the upside and hopefully the QB future.
It's very similar to your DJ Moore, Jamar Chase question, right? Yeah. Albeit with a little bit of lower stakes because these guys are probably going in later rounds.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, buying back the years, even with a guy that's proved it a little more than the other in some regards, I can't hate it. So next question.
Hit me.
Is Miles Sanders the ultimate buy low in Dynasty right now?
Oh, man. It just depends on how low, but I would, if I could get him, I think owners are almost out on him, like completely just want
People are
him
getting worried.
off. They are getting worried. And I love Kenny Gainwell, honestly. So it depends on your team's position. I think if you are contending, you want to be on the closer end of contending if you're buying Miles Sanders, because I do believe there's a future where Kenny Gainwell gets a lot more, etc. I am going to say, though, I still believe in Miles Sanders. He just hasn't been utilized. It's not because of his talent. He just hasn't been utilized this year. Nick Sirianni, I don't know what the heck he's doing with some of his play calling. Apparently, he's safe until next year, so I can't even say he'll be gone next year. But, yes, I still believe that Miles Sanders is a talent, and you should be buying him as long as it's on the low, because you can't be paying up for what he's currently doing.
I like to hear it. He might be a target for me in some of my leagues. So let's get to the hard questions.
Ooh, all right. Crank it up a notch.
You're doing a startup next year.
Yes, sir.
Are both Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley top 4 picks at running back?
Oh, man. No. No, I don't think they are.
Explain. This one you got to elaborate.
I know. I mean, so let me think for a second. We've got Saquon, who I believe is 24, going on 25 into next season. Christian McCaffrey, is he 25 currently?
He's 24 as well.
24 as well. Okay, going on to 25. Both with enough. I mean, I'm putting Jonathan Taylor above both of those guys now, personally. And I would probably say, I mean, I very well could be, depending on, I might be really getting ahead of myself, but there's even a conversation with DeAndre Swift and the way that he's been playing right now. So that's 2. So I think at least one of them falls out of the top 4. You might get one that still sticks in there. I mean, but you still have, I think Alvin Kamara's a little younger. You have, I can't trust any J.K. Dobbins, Akers, all those guys coming back. So I think one of them gets pushed out. I'm trying to think of one other guy that would take right before them, but I don't think they're full locked and loaded 1 and 2. We saw Saquon already get out of there, and then with this other injury, he's out. We have 2 years of Christian McCaffrey giving you a couple great games in a season, and then he's gone. He needs to be pushed down in favor of youth at that point. I love his talent, but he's now in that risk category where I'm probably putting those guys at like 5 and 6. So, great question.
You've come so far, man. I'm so happy where your head's at with this. I also, when I was doing this thought experiment before, I was like, I want to make sure it's not too crazy of a question. Najee Harris will be so interesting.
Najee Harris, another one that I seriously might consider putting ahead. So great. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a couple others that I would put there. So yeah, I don't think they're guaranteed. They could be right on that fringe. You might see one bleed in, but I think both of them are on the outside looking in.
We're going to keep the youth movement rolling. Same question. Season's done.
Yep.
You're going into drafts next year. Are Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamar Chase the top 3 wide receivers in Dynasty?
Ooh, all right. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb.
So we're pushing out some of your favorites here.
I hate to see AJ Brown out of that conversation, but I understand, given what's been going on this year, both from a health and just team scheme perspective, why they're not giving him the ball a billion times is unbelievable, but we'll save that for another time. I would say, yes, those are my top 3. I really do think that those are my top 3. I think there's a couple other ones that you could see just on the outside looking in. Again, I still have great high hopes for AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. It's hard with the Russell Wilson injury that you have here, because I think you just see him continue to explode. But I probably, again, they're slightly older and they're having issues this year. I'm going to put them right out on the outside of there looking in with those 3 wide receivers that we just talked about as the podium of Dynasty wide receivers going into next year.
And I think we're being a little ageist here, which I love that I'm rubbing off on you with the youth movement. However, all these guys, fantastic pedigree, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, teammates. CeeDee Lamb was a highly touted prospect. All these guys, although Justin Jefferson maybe slipped a little bit during the process, still a first-round pick.
Yep.
Obviously coveted for his skill set. I don't think it's crazy. I agree. I think that they're all going to be, you're going to go into startups next year, and they are all going to be going in the first 2 rounds of Superflex drafts at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I think it's just a no-brainer with that at that point. And again, not a knock to some of the other guys that are in that area, but between pedigree, age, and current production, it seems like a slam dunk.
All right. Last question. Who was the one guy, Dan? The one guy that you were always stashing in Dynasty that nobody but you seems to believe in? This is a deep cut.
Oh, man.
Who's that guy at the very end of the bench that nobody else is even claiming on waivers, and Dan's like, give me that guy?
I would say I've kind of liked stashing in Dynasty. I've liked stashing Jeremy McNichols, and this is real deep, so I'm giving people a real deep cut here. If I'm speaking a little bit more in terms of who's more popular, I would say Kenny Gainwell. That's my guy. I'm stashing a lot of him, but I wanted to go deeper than this. Jeremy McNichols, he is the backup currently to Derrick Henry, who you and I absolutely love, think he's a monster. And again, I think we continue to sometimes eat crow until the point where the quote unquote wheels fall off of saying that Derrick Henry is going to regress there, right? But what we do know is that if for whatever reason that man were to go down, the run heavy scheme of the Tennessee Titans, it's great to be able to have a handcuff like that. And Jeremy McNichols is catching balls like crazy out of the backfield, and no one's really paying attention to that. And if Derrick Henry, for whatever reason, were to go down, I think he just has a lot of upside that is really accessible for people to be able to go get right now for absolutely nothing.
All right. Any other honorable mentions there, or are we going to go out on Jeremy McNichols?
I also, the other guy I've been stashing a lot of that I just really like and is super cheap is Salvon Ahmed. He's one other guy that I do really like. I liked his college kind of tape there. I still feel like there is totally open field in the Miami Dolphins backfield. It's actually, I think they're literally all splitting snaps 30% or darn close to it. So just a chance to be able to, again, if we're talking about flyers in this scenario for deep bench stashes of guys that I do really like their upside, he's another one I'd toss into the mix.
All right. I got nothing to add. That is the show. Poor job by yours truly.
Oh, please. No,
really
you're good.
Just running the clock. I'm like Andy Reid with some of these clock management situations. That was his problem for so many years. But yeah, this was good. Rapid fire talk, and we'll be doing more of this. And I keep forgetting we got to read the reviews at some point, Dan, because we keep getting more.
No, it's true.
So please review the show if you haven't, because we want to know what we're doing well, what you guys like, what you guys hate. So we'll have to jam some of those in next time. But I think that wraps it up. So getting out of here for today. This is the Dynasty Dynamic. You stay classy, Dynasty Leaguers.
Thanks for tuning in.